good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, now that all that silliness with YouTube and the monetization has gone away, although one more sincere, huge thank you to everyone that helped with that. I literally could not got it fixed without you lovely ladies and gentlemen, so thank you so much to anyone who tweeted, got joined in any way. You guys are awesome. But we are now back to our regularly scheduled programming. We've got Pokemon to talk about, and according to the folks over at TMZ.com, I'll pop a link to the original article in the description, a set of Pokemon cards has gone and sold for $107,010,000. Okay. Now, the TMZ article doesn't go into a huge amount of detail as to why they are so gosh darned expensive. The lovely news is, ladies and gentlemen, I absolutely can. So all of these, well, it is the base set. When we say base set in the Pokemon trading card game, we are referring to the original set, the very first expansion that was ever released. And there were 102 cards in the base set, although 6 of them were basic energy, which makes it a bit less exciting, but the rest of them weren't basic energy. That's the point. We had 69 Pokemon and the rest were trainers, and we actually saw, the ones that were really sought after, there were 16 holo cards. These are the ones people were really after. We'll get to them all in a bit. And of course, yes, one of them was Charizard, the Charizard. I should probably make a video about that Charizard at some point, but that's not the point of today. And look, a bunch of you have probably got some of these cards at home from your childhood or because you bought them later. I do. I have a complete base set at home. I'm very happy to be able to tell you. I have a very good friend called Ben who did literally gift me a full base set with some other cards because he's lovely. I gave him a lift to see a friend about 3 hours drive away, and he was like, "Hi, I got you a present. I don't need these anymore." Lovely dude. Was my lovely friend Ben giving me $107,000 worth of cards? No. No, ladies and gentlemen, he wasn't. And I've got most of these cards that weren't gifted to me by Ben. And still, I am nowhere near $107,000. You see, there are a few factors here which make these cards particularly rare and valuable. First of all, they are first edition cards. The first edition here is denoted by the very clear first edition symbol on the card. Well, that makes things a little easier then, doesn't it? But they're also shadowless cards. So most Pokemon cards around the border, there's a little bit of a shadow. But some of the earlier cards didn't have that shadow. Hence the term shadowless. So being first edition makes them more valuable. Being shadowless makes them more valuable. But there's one other thing that really pushes the price up of these cards, and that is that they are all PSA graded 10. Now, PSA is a company, and what they do is they grade trading cards. Not just Pokemon cards or nerd cards, sports cards, all kinds of cards. They grade them. And what I mean by that is they have a look at everything. How good a condition the card is in. Are there any scratches on the holofoil, front and back, and all of that? But also things like how good are the corners, and what is a centering like on a card, i.e. is the border the same all the way around? And if your card is in great condition and the centering is really good, etc., it will get a PSA 10. To put this into a bit more context, just because you pull the card straight out of a packet does not mean it will get a PSA 10. Bit of wear on the corners, couple tiny scratches on the holofoil, bit of off-centering, whatever. There can be some tiny blemishes, but you've got to have a pretty good condition card to get a PSA 10. I can't go into a huge amount of detail about this because that would be a whole new video in itself, but just take my word for it, the PSA 10s are hard to get. And it looks like, certainly from the images TMZ have shared, that it was a complete set of first edition shadowless PSA 10 base set cards. Okay, now we start to understand why this is quite so valuable. It is hard to get PSA 10s. It is hard to get every card as a PSA 10, and then to have all of them together in one collection really does just push us into, oh my goodness, kind of territory. This is, shall we say, unexpected. We don't see this kind of thing happening very much. Plenty of people have PSA 10 cards, but let's face it, having all of them? And to be fair, although it was $107,000, we need to point out here that a lot of this value will be in those 16 holographic cards. And yes, the Charizard was the most sought after of all of them. It was the one we all wanted in the playground as a kid. And it's a real kind of perfect storm of factors that have made these cards quite so expensive. Now, I said 102 cards, that's a little bit of a lie, because a TMZ article referred to 103 cards, and there were actually 103 cards in the base set, because Pikachu did get printed with both red and yellow cheeks. Now, according to the lovely folks over at Bulbapedia, the red-cheeked one is the variant, i.e. the one you don't usually get, and it was an experimental print from the first edition and early unlimited print runs, and then the yellow-cheeked version was the main one that came in the rest. So really, if you do want a complete base set of the Pokemon trading card game, you need to have both the yellow and the red-cheeked Pikachu. That's kind of important. Okay then. So, we can look at a couple of other auctions here, and I'm looking at eBay because they're the easy ones to check, and we can see how some of these things make a difference. So, recently over in Germany, a listing ended for a complete German base set PSA 10. Now, these are not shadowless cards. They are first edition. They are not shadowless. They are all PSA 10, but they're German, not English, and they're not shadowless, and this was listed for 30,000 euros, which at the current exchange rate, you're looking at about $33,500. But that didn't sell. That is less than a third of what the other one went for, but the other one was English and shadowless, so I suppose that makes a difference. There was also an Australian listing. Now, I believe that it did sell. Now, it was listed as free. It's been taken down because of an error, but 2 of them sold. So I believe the error is that they listed free when they only had 2. And this is very, very similar. We have the base set. We have first edition. We have shadowless. And they're PSA 9. Now, this is only the 16 holofoil cards. It's not actually all the rest of them, but the holofoil really are the money cards in the set. And that was listed for 50,000 Australian dollars, which is about $33,750. So very, very similar to the other listing. And that is first edition, shadowless, and the holos, but they're PSA 9s. And it makes a big difference as to whether it's a PSA 9 or a PSA 10. The real collectors, they want PSA 10. Having PSA 10 is incredibly important to them. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to have a whole love of Pokemon and a whole heap of cash to be going and buying, well, auctions like this. It is, kind of crazy. Thank you to TMZ for sharing that article. Like I've said, I'll pop a link to it in the description. Please give them a click, give them a bit of love. They are the ones that I at least saw first sharing the story, so do give them a little bit of love. That would be lovely. Incidentally, the original 16 holofoil cards that I keep telling you about, there were, in alphabetical order, Alakazam, Blastoise, Chansey, Charizard, he's the main one, Clefairy, Gyarados, Hitmonchan, Machamp, Magneton, Nidoking, Ninetales, Poliwrath, Raichu, Venusaur, and Zapdos. And to be fair, they can be worth a few quid, bucks if you're in America, even if they're not first edition shadowless PSA 10. Although, to be clear, you're not getting over $100,000. So I'd like to know what you think about this story, ladies and gentlemen, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about games that don't even have any Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.